Keith, in the length of a tweet or a tweet thread, what did we talk about today?
We talked about engine, the growth. We talked about changing roles, and and awareness, brand awareness at scale, ABM at scale. That was an interesting one.
All right, enjoy, everyone.
I'm Ibby Syed.
I'm Sean Collins.
And this is Numbers and Narratives.
All right, well, Keith, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. Would you give everyone a quick rundown on you and Engine and your background?
So I've been doing marketing for 20 years now at this point. Come from a lot of different backgrounds, from tech to healthcare. I've been CMO of a couple of different private equity firms, kind of overseeing all their portfolio companies, and been with Engine for the past year and a half or so.
And what is it that Engine does?
Oh, man. You're challenging me on the elevator pitch here. You know, honestly, this is one of those funny ones where I always like to have a really clear, crisp way of explaining what, the company does. The tricky thing with Engine is we do so many things, and we do it in a way that is like, people are doing these things already. They don't realize there's a better way to do them. And probably one of the things we'll talk about today is just a general idea of getting brand awareness out there for products like this, because, look, we are a travel management company at the core, but travel management company, TMC, is almost like a gross word to us, because there are these big companies that have become these weird amalgamations of agent assist fees every time you call for customer service. You have to commit to a minimum spend if you want to use them. Back in COVID days, a lot of these companies that were using TMCs got screwed, right? Because all of a sudden travel just shut down. And that's well, you didn't hit your minimum spend for the year. It's well, nobody's traveling, right? And you've got contracts and all this stuff. Engine is essentially a company that will allow you to manage all your company travel just like you would on a publicly available tool, but you get business tools included. You can set travel policies so that your employees never spend more than you want them to, and they could be specific to the area they're going. You can set up a direct bill to where, instead of actually paying for a travel every time you're going somewhere, you can wait. We will pay for it for you, and then we will send you one consolidated invoice. Finance teams don't have to worry about wrangling invoices from everybody. It's pretty wild. We're growing 60% plus year over year. And the thing I always say to my team is guys, put it in perspective. That's great, but we're free. Companies are going to save money using us. Travelers are going to be happier. There's no contracts to sign. There's no minimum spends. There's no agent assist fees. You can start using us and stop using us whenever you'd like. How is it that we're not growing 500% year over year? We shouldn't be happy with this level of growth with a product like this.
That's a great pitch. I wish my pitch was half as good as that. That was a great pitch. It makes me want to travel for work.
I mean, yeah, that was a pitch that said, you took all, you're told, hey, get this concise one-liner, 10-second pitch about what you do, and that was so much better. You made the enemy. You helped me understand TMCs, which is something that most people don't actually ever think about, right? They just are told, HR says hey, you're going here. You send finance a screenshot of your ticket or something like that. That was fascinating. That was great.
Well, there's also so many companies that aren't using a TMC yet, right? They're too small. They're not going to sign that contract, and they're literally going to. I mean, they're on Hilton's website. They're on Expedia. They're on all these different platforms trying to book this stuff. And a lot of times we think about companies as centralized and decentralized when it comes to travel. You have companies where there's a single person or a couple of people that are booking travel on behalf of others, and then you have companies where all the individual employees get to book their own travel. They each come with their own challenges, but imagine the centralized component. Imagine you're the person at a company who's keeping track of everyone's, you're using all these different websites, and you're keeping track of people's date of birth, their preferences. You're trying to keep track of travel policies. You need their frequent flyer numbers, right, to get points. It's a lot of work, and we've been able to simplify that for so many companies. So it's exciting.
You said that the question internally is like, why aren't we growing like 10 times faster than we are growing right now? What's your kind of take on that? Because like because I've done a very, very small amount of work with TMCs, and they are like really stodgy businesses. Like these are like, they are like, you talk about like cloud versus mobile versus whatever. These are like, we are still using like Windows 7. Um, like it's kind of crazy. What's your kind of take? Is it mainly because people are too small? Is it because of the post-COVID stuff? Is it because of TMCs? Some fourth thing that I didn't mention?
I mean, you look at like the amount of product updates that we're putting out. It's like 200 plus big chunky things that like most would take most companies a year or more to build are getting done so fast here and done so well. Like you just can't point to, oh, there's not a product market fit, or the product is antiquated. Like that is in no way the reason. The reason is purely awareness. And it's not awareness of who we are. It's awareness that there's a better way to do it for $0 extra dollars. In fact, you're going to save money and time, and so that really to me is like, you get, I've been in some companies where, you wrangle with like, kind of the classification category awareness, right? We have to make awareness for the category. We don't have to make awareness for the category. We have to make awareness that there's a way to do it that they're just unaware of, right? And it's not going to cost them any more money. It's not going to lock them in any contracts. There's no reason not to try it out. If you're a business, it's like a no-brainer. And if you're not ready to go, I mean, there's a lot of companies that need a TMC. They're huge. They're massive. They want a person on the phone with them every day. Back when I used to work at a private equity firm, whenever I book travel, I'd literally call an agent at one of these big TMCs and they would help me book the trip. Like, you want that level? Like, you want all these crazy custom integrations, everything, like, go to a TMC. We are built for the businesses that are traveling, being offsites, they're doing individual time. We have so many companies that I would never have even thought of that travel all that much. Think about like trucking companies, right? You've got these drivers hauling goods around the country, and they have a certain amount of time that they can drive before they have to stop. They're at mile marker 125 in the middle of Kansas, and they need to, find a hotel that has 18-wheeler parking, right? We have the filters built in to be able to say, all right, here's the route, boom, find a hotel, 18-wheeler parking, allows late check-in for them to get in at 3 a.m. And by the way, that trucker does not have to go in and use their own personal credit card for incidentals. We can get that covered as well. So it's really built for businesses that are in no way ready for those massive TMCs and their fees and contracts and all that. And I think there's just so many companies that don't know that businesses like ours exist.
Well, I was gonna ask, like, because like what you're describing there is like, it's not exactly category creation, because like there are people that are trying to solve this problem already, but it's like such a different way of thinking about it. It seems that like you almost have the category creation problem where it's like, hey, like, have you ever thought about this? And most people are like, what? Like, no, like this is not the way the world works. And you have to kind of like step them through that. No. There's a completely different way of solving the problem that you're currently solving. And here's a solution that's like a different way of thinking, right? Like Henry Ford used to say, if I'd listened to what people asked for, I would have built a faster horse. And it's just a different way of doing things. How do you approach that problem from the marketing perspective? Like what are the challenges?
I'll give you an even a different component to this too. Think about group travel, right? To your point of like, there's people thinking about business travel and they might know solutions like ours exist potentially, but think about group travel. Group travel is so antiquated in a sense of you have 10 people that need to like go to an offsite, or even like in construction world where you got 30 people that need to go build something in 2 cities over or whatever, and you're going to put them up in a hotel. Literally, you can't go to a big hotel's website and book more than 9 rooms. They won't let you. You have to call. You have to call them and ask for a room block and negotiate it and negotiate the terms and the rates and all of that. We've built a platform that allows people to just put in their trips, their details of their group trips, and it will send the RFPs to multiple hotels, which those hotels are now in a platform we have called Partner Hub, where they're responding to them no calls needed. We're able to negotiate with them, get the best rates, and present it right in front of the end user. That to me is like, again, going back to like your point of like, it's not category creation, but it's just a completely different way of thinking about things. Everybody who works in a business where they are booking group trips has probably wished for something like this, but is just assumes it doesn't exist because the big hotels aren't even doing it. Now, to your point of like the marketing for it, like how do we go about it? ABM at scale is like a term that a lot of people use. I don't know necessarily if this is like, a lot of marketers will agree that like what I'm about to describe is truly ABM scale. A lot of people just say it's like, mass ICP targeting, right? But essentially, one of the big things we've been leading into is you find the industries that are most heavy for business travel. One tricky thing, right? A lot of companies can go to a Zoom info and others and be like, what's the revenue range? How many employees do they have? And that will be a good indicator of whether they're a good fit for their product. That doesn't work for us, right? In the sense that like a small consulting firm could spend $2 million a year on travel because they're constantly out talking to clients. And huge companies might have one centralized office and everybody's in the office. They don't need offsites. They don't go anywhere, right? Maybe they go to see some clients, but that's about it. So those indicators, those popular filters and everything that we have on these sites, these list building sites, don't really work for us. We've got an amazing data science team, and they've put together a model that essentially goes and on all different touch points, from technographic data to even just the internal first party data that we're seeing about which companies are traveling more than others, where they're going, what they're traveling for. They've been able to build models for us that say, hey, these are the 50,000 companies that we believe are likely to spend this amount in travel in the year. And we know that companies that spend that amount in travel have these specific, pain points if they don't have a TMC, and a lot of times even if they do. And so we're able to go then a level further and go, all right, well, we know that these types of companies at this size who travel this much have these pain points, but now we can go deeper into what are the trucking pain points? What are the construction pain points? So like by industry. And then we go a level deeper in there and say, all right, who are the potential buyers? We're free, so it's not really a buyer, right? But who's the decision maker in this? And that's another tricky thing with our business. It's that once a business is at a point where they have someone who has the word travel in their title, they're doing a lot of travel. They've thought about this. It might be at a point where they're already using a TMC. We've got to find, if we're going after, the businesses that really are just struggling with using all these different websites, from public available sites to potentially even competitors, like, we have to figure out, is it the executive assistant that's booking travel? Is it ops? The ops team who cares about their team going on all these different places doing offsites? Is it, finance that has the pain point of, I'm spending 15 hours a month wrangling all these receipts, and by the way, people are booking hotels for $500 in Kansas. Like, what are we doing here? So we go all the way down from like the businesses that we think are that we believe through data science that are most likely to travel, to the industries and their pain points, down to the actual ICPs. And then we get really specifically targeted ads in front of those people across display, connected TV, connected audio, social, and we're using a lot of influencer content as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is so fascinating because, Ibby, you talked earlier about the 95-5 heuristic that I talk about all the time, of like, for any given B2B market, only about 5% of your ideal customers actually in the market at any given time. That also doesn't really apply to Engine, where it's not like any one, again, unless they're with a TCP or whatever that acronym was. I can't remember if I got the TMC. There isn't a contract. So the booking travel can go on throughout the year. They're kind of always in market to upgrade. And it goes back to the other one that I like to say all the time, like the biggest competitor for any product is Google Sheets and Excel. And it's just kind of the same idea of like, yeah, we all book travel. And so we've accepted that there's just a really shitty process that we have to deal with, of we're all going to book it ourselves. download the invoices. We have to eat cost for a while until we get reimbursed. We have to upload it into whatever stupid app we have to use. You have to track all our receipts and remember which ones all go along with it. Coordinate if there's 4 of you going, but you all want to book, you're all booking your own travel because you want to get your own points and you want to use your own status. Like, you need to coordinate separately. Like, this solves so many pain points. And I think we've just become accustomed to it being an awful process.
I agree. Even you said B2B. One thing we've rolled out recently that is really exciting and has taken off like a rocket is we launched I talked about groups and big group bookings, but we now allow personal group trips. On the travel side of, you log into our platform and you're using it, all business, right? Reserved for businesses. But on the group side, we're now allowing people who are booking their weddings, looking for a room block for a golf trip, right? And so it's when you're talking about like whether people are in the market or not, we have this whole new audience that just opened up to us that we're now figuring out, like, okay, what are the partnerships we need to make in order to get in front of these people at the right time? It's totally different business model too, right? Because like on the business side, I got to get a business to like try us out once. And then they're going to be like, holy crap, this is great. I didn't realize this was a thing. And now their whole business is going to start using it. But on the B2C group side, unless somebody is just terrible at relationships, they're not going to get married again, right away. They're going to get married once, and then they're probably never going to need us, or at least for a while, until they're going to do a 20th reunion or something, and they're going to try us for that. But it's really interesting in the sense that like we have these different markets to go after. We've got the businesses, we've got the businesses that are doing regular travel and group travel. We've got the personal side and group travel. And then we also market to hotels, right? And supply partners, the people that are supplying the actual rooms and, flights and cars for our business travelers. Not to necessarily, we've got all of them, every major, we've got 750,000 hotels and every major airline and car rental company and all that in. But the thing that really that makes us stand out, that we did differently from a business model perspective, is the relationships with our hotel partners. So, you see like Ramp and who else is getting into it? I'm blanking on Rippling. They're creating travel products, right? They've got a credit card and the expense management, and they're creating a travel product to say, hey, you can now book your travel through this. Because all they're doing is connecting to these APIs that pull in the rooms at the same rate that the people can find everywhere else, and they snap some tools onto it for billing and this type of thing. I think our competitive advantage in so many cases is our relationships with these supply partners and like hotels. We have a product called Partner Hub where they will log in and they're like, we just had a big group cancel. I'm going to run a deal for hotels on the Engine platform to say anybody in the Engine platform can have these rooms for 25% off, in the next 2 weeks, if you schedule the next 2 weeks. Or they can go in and they could say, hey, I'm going to respond to this group RFP immediately, right? We're launching all these tools to allow hotels to get more business travelers. Because if you think about the problems, right, you've got businesses that have the problem with annoying processes for booking travel and all that. They have hotels that they're full on the weekends. What does Sunday through Thursday look like? You run a hotel. How are you booking your rooms on the weekdays? You need business travelers. We've got 900,000 plus business travelers using the platform. So when you get the hotels to come in and actually provide better, value to the businesses, now the businesses are saving money because the hotel's going to say, hey, if you're an Engine traveler, you can have this room for 25% off. Right. And it's an average of 26% savings on our platform. So like we are allowing the hotels to use the platform to get what they want, more business travelers, by providing better value to our business travelers who now are like, wow, this is a free platform and I'm saving money and time. I'm going to stay sticky. I'm going to tell other people. And it's just a nice, cycle there that allows us to, I think that's one of the main things that's powering our growth. And one of the main reasons we're not so worried about competitors getting into the space, because that relationship building is probably the hardest part of all of it.
saw a lot at Built, and I think was also a large part of Built's success, was the idea of like all three parties of, you, the brand yourself, your end user, and also your partners. How do you build a relationship that all three parties win, and no one is sacrificing something for the quote unquote good of the partnership or whatever? It truly is built in a way that everybody wins. And I think that's just a newer way of thinking, where it's not coming from a scarcity mindset, and it's coming from a like, we can actually build amazing experiences and grow together if we invest and think strategically about the problems that we each uniquely face and come up with, like, are honest about those, brainstorm and work together. I think that's so powerful.
Yeah, there's a wedding company called Joy who I think does a lot of the same type of thing. It's like a wedding OS platform, basically. And we signed up for it, and I was like, how the hell is this free? And it turns out like the fees and everything are all like, you put the onus on the actual supplier, because the supplier gets such a good deal because you have such like a dedicated market, right? Like being able to talk and sell directly to your ICP is really valuable. And like people are willing to pay a premium for that. So that's awesome. How'd you guys, I mean, I'm gonna switch a little bit. I mean, this is both marketing and comms, right? Like you said that like some of your new role is going to be brand and understanding sort of like positioning in the market and that kind of stuff. As that relates to how'd you guys figure that out so far, right? Like how do you guys understand? Because the other thing that's like tough is you have to figure out as a company where you want to lean in, right? And so how do you understand like what your customers say and what they care about, and like what things they find valuable?
Well, we have an amazing account management team. We do we have a sales team structured in a really interesting way, where the kind of frontline sellers, because there's no contracts and there's no minimum spends or anything, like their job is to get someone to know who we are and get them to book one time, right? Once they book one time, it's kicked over to our account management org that is now nurturing that relationship through. So that then they're trying to figure out like, what are the pain points? What do they care about? Who are we talking to? Who's the key stakeholder at this like type of organization? And we have a lot of amazing metrics around figuring out who cares in what organization. Because like I said before, as businesses are growing, the role of who's booking travel changes all the time, right? You got the CEO doing it in early days, and then they get an EA and the EA's doing it, and they get an ops person, that person doing it. And then before you know it, everybody's booking their own. So it really depends on kind of the growth of the company and what stage they're at in terms of like who cares about the travel. And it could always be different in different places. I think the core thing of what you're saying of how do we figure out, do we have product market fit or not? I think the craziest thing about this business is that we're marketers here. It has grown this fast, this far, with zero marketing, basically. Like we were Hotel Engine a year ago. We weren't Engine. We were Hotel Engine. When I joined a year and 4 months ago, it was a Series B company named Hotel Engine, 1.3 billion valuation, but that was from a raise in 2021. Well, what was happening in 2021, right? For high growth SaaS companies, the multiples on revenue were like 33 times on average, right? So you look at this like a chart over time, and it's like 2015, average of multiples were like 9, right? And then it gets up, down a little bit. But 2021 was the peak. And then, right, roller coaster comes down, and now we're at about 9 again. And so if you kind of like, if you were to normalize that at like 9 being the average, our valuation at that time would have been about 400 million, probably, right? And the company had grown with no marketing, just pure product market fit and sales outreach. Now we raised the Series C in 2024. We got a 2.1 billion valuation, which was amazing because like one of the reasons we were excited to do the Series C was not because we needed the money necessarily. It was like, in a way, it was a flex. We're like, there's so many companies that had raised in 2021 and had these bloated valuations, and now here they are doing down rounds or raising debt. And we were able to get an extremely clean deal at an amazing valuation that essentially 4 times the value in 3 years. So I think going back to your question, it's like that product market fit, when you have it, when you've created a product that has zero barriers essentially and has been growing organically, like it's not a hard job as a marketer. Like you're just trying to throw gas on the fire at that point.
You alluded to it in that last question, but you've been CMO here for the last year and change. You've been CMO a couple times before. You're changing roles this year. I think by the time this episode comes out, that'll be announced, and so we have no problems talking about that. So, what kind of drove that change, and what does that mean looking forward for you and the team?
Yeah, I'm excited to chat about this. So, a year, 4 months ago, I came in. The wreck of this CMO role was, we don't know if marketing works. We've never really done it. We've had marketers. They had a team before, but like nobody really had a clear view of like what was marketing doing and what value was it driving. Really, there weren't metrics in place. So I got in. We got lean with the team. We brought it down. At one point, the marketing team was 9 people in 2024, which is wild for a $1 billion plus company, right? We put metrics in place. We launched product-led growth. We did a rebrand last year. We did our Series C. And we got to a point, the marketing team has grown over the course of the year for sure. But if you think about growth like this, we now have shown the company that, wow, marketing can actually deliver results and we need to lean in. And now we want to take that marketing team and like really ramp it up. And honestly, that's where I don't have as much fun. There's been 2 times in my career where I've had large teams. One was about 40 people. One was about 60. And anyone who knows me, like they know I love work. Like I love work. I put off personal stuff to work. Like I just enjoy it. And it was the least fun I've ever had when I had those big teams. And, honestly, I don't feel like I'm good at it, right? Like what I feel like I'm good at is getting in, being creative, solving problems, being close to the work. And one of the things as I've been thinking about this shift in roles is I had you end up having a moment where you go, wait a minute, my identity is tied to marketing, isn't it? Like if I change a role because it's best for the business, am I going against my identity? And I think what I ultimately, and you battle with ego, you battle with all these things, but like, I think what I ultimately came to is I don't love marketing. I love solving problems and I love like being the person who like gets things fixed in an organization versus creates, more problems. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to transition to a chief communications officer role. The title doesn't exactly explain the areas I'll be focused on perfectly. In one sense, totally logical. I'll oversee PR, brand awareness through public relations, earned media. I'll have events, right? So making sure our events are awesome, conferences, all of our internal all hands, doing speaking engagements, that type of thing. But then I'll also have another foot in the world of the people side, which I'm really excited about. We're going to grow. We're at about 700 employees right now. This year, we're going to grow to about 1,100, right? So it's probably more. So we've got about 500 open roles like on the roadmap for this year that we have to fill. Think about it, it's almost doubling the size of the company. And we have different work models. Some people are completely remote, some are hybrid, and some are fully in office. We have offices in San Francisco, Denver, Tempe, Arizona, and Austin, and probably some more to come this year. So the other kind of the thing I get to do on the people side is running employer brands. So like ensuring we have top-notch employer brand to attract the best talent, culture. And Sean went through the interview process. Like he knows like like we go wild when it comes to interviews. We really go for only top talent, which is why we offered Sean the job. He didn't take it. Thanks, Sean. But yeah, so employer brand stuff, and then the culture side. Think like, internal comms, competitions internally, contests. I want to do fun stuff where we give away like really cool swag to the winner of this day. I want to go to be at the office and do like, things where you're pulling a keg and the person who's the top salesman has like their name on the keg handle. I just think there's like so much cool stuff we could do both in person and virtually to enhance the culture and enhance the workplace experience. So that's kind of what the new role will entail: the PR and comms, traditional comm side externally, and the employee engagement side.
I was planning. I had a lot of questions to lean in on the PR and comm side, but you blew my mind with 500 hires in the next 11-ish months. That's like what, like 45 hires a month or something like that. And I assume one of those is a new CMO. So I guess, like, how are you kind of like thinking about the growth of particularly the marketing org, and what is that next ideal CMO kind of bringing in? In case anyone who listens to this is a hungry candidate.
Yeah, we want a killer CMO to come in, someone who loves the stuff I hate, interviewing, getting the best talent, but figuring out the org structure, driving those OKRs home, and making sure that everybody under them is driver not passenger, running at full speed, and being like really thoughtful in terms of like what the output is and what they're focused on. I think the spec for that job is really like, we want someone who's seen the level of growth that we're seeing. We want someone who's seen this movie before. Whether it's a startup or not, they've been with an organization either through IPO or through a few years of very heavy growth. They've built teams, because while we have a core team in place, there's still so many hires to make. And I think somebody who comes with a network of people where they go, well, this person's a killer, I've worked with this person, worked with that person, come on over. Like, that is a major way we're going to fast track some of this hiring. And that exists across the organization, right? Internal, we don't post jobs typically. We post some jobs, they're, member services and jobs like that potentially, but like, bigger roles like this, and even like manager and above, like, we are only doing outbound TA, right? We are reaching out to people who have jobs already, and trying to get them, to try to see if it would be a good fit and get them excited. Culture and DNA is like a huge part of the type of people that we need to get. And I think, like you said, with the amount of hires that are on the ramp, we definitely need people to refer. We need people from our A players that they've worked with great people before. They're bringing them in. So it is a lot of like internal, referrals, also external, or outbound TA. But yeah, for this CMO role, it's definitely got to be someone who's seen this story before and seen it be successful.
And that makes sense. Especially in those Series C. I think that's never the time you're looking for just like a hungry worker who's going to grow into the role. You want someone who has done this before. On the shifting to the PR side, when you look at the world we're in now, where it's so much digital first, we're starting to see more and more silos of comms, I think, right? Like, it's less about big 5 newspapers or something like that. And there's so many, people are customizing their subscriptions and their feeds. They're customizing, their own AI bots to build their own newsletters and stuff like that. How do you kind of think about, in a digitally first kind of AI world, how do you approach building a PR strategy and social listening and engagement like that?
So from a PR and earned media perspective, I think one of the things we could do much better is leaning into, the things that people really enjoy. And like, you have a lot of people that travel for business, and they burn out over time. And that's a real thing. And so while we only allow people into our platform to travel for business purposes, could we say, hey, let's partner with a luggage brand and say, Engine's here to help, you prevent burnout. We're going to give away a $5,000 vacation to the person with the best story, of how they recover from, or how they ensure they don't burn out after business, heavy business travel. I think there's a lot of things like that where you could do brand partnerships, and really get creative in terms of how you push the initiative. So it doesn't just feel like a self-centered contest and that type of thing, but it really is doing something good. We have this kind of sub-brand, Engine for Good, that works with, charitable organizations and that type of thing. And I think that's another part from the PR side that we could potentially use. We do a lot of this already, and we don't really talk about it publicly. So I think that's another angle. But to your point of everything being digital, I really think about, like, when I think about PR, look, you need to find out who's writing about what they care about, what data they might need, what the stories and beats are. Think about AI. Like, couldn't AI do that? Like, can't AI scrape the web and be like, here's the people, that write about the things you care about. Here's the last 5 things they wrote about, and the commonalities are this. If you were to, go get this type of data about business travel and send it to them, they'd probably write a story about it. If I was a PR professional, like just doing PR right now, I'd be very scared with AI, getting to where it is. So I think there's also a lot of opportunities there to utilize AI for some of the more basic, cumbersome things that you traditionally think of with PR.
It's like taking the engine mission of making work easier and making the journalists work easier, and saying, hey, here's a prepackaged story for you, right? All the data points you need, the mission, we got people you can quote, all that.
I think we're running up on time. This has been awesome so far. Before we end, Keith, do you wanna pub anything to like bring up, anything that you want to send our listeners towards regarding Engine, regarding yourself, regarding something that you care about?
If someone does want to apply for this CMO role, how do they get in touch with you?
I'd say hit me up on LinkedIn. I'll get their information to the right place. We really don't have like an inbound, you can apply type of process. Like I said, we do outbound TA. But yeah, anybody who's excited about it, they can hit me up on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to pass their information along. From just a perspective of, like, again, awareness, like, I just want everyone to know, like, if you work at a business, you have a business email, like, it's a no-brainer to go to engine.com, put your business email in. If you're the first person from your business to sign up, you get $50 towards your next trip right there, like, immediately. So if you're the first person to put your business email in, you're signing up to your business, it's free, there's no contracts, you get $50 towards your first trip. Go check it out and give it a shot. If you've got a wedding or a group trip coming up, no brainer. Go to the groups page, put in the information. Hotels are going to bid for your business, and you're not going to have to do a bunch of phone calls and hassle arguing with people on the phone at these hotels. They're going to be able to get right back to you in a digital, automated way, which no other company out there is doing.
Love that. Ibby and I are hoping to do some travel for the podcast this year. So I'm going to try and beat him to signing up so I can get that $50.
All right, Keith, thanks so much for coming on.
Appreciate it, guys.